Mortal Kombat! Oh, fuck. Ah, shit. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room. I said I had a bunch of videos prepared that I would be editing that were reviews. I scrapped them. I didn't want to do them. I didn't think they were that good. I didn't enjoy them. Yeah, why I haven't posted in a while. I had my thesis due, so that took up time, kinda. I mean, maybe that's an excuse, but the point is now I have this. Now, relevant, relatively new. Mortal Kombat came out a couple weeks ago. I watched it the day it came out. I'm just reviewing it now. Let's talk Mortal Kombat here. I love the games. The games are a blast. But the thing about Mortal Kombat that is always true is that the plot is convoluted and fucking nonsense. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Not a single aspect of Mortal Kombat is rational. It's just extremely insane. It's all nonsense. I repeated that. It's fun. It's kind of interesting. I kind of care about the characters' backstories, but it's also just ludicrous and weird. But let's talk about the movie first, because I just wanted to first say that I am a fan of the games. I am familiar with the characters and all of that. So I have some background that maybe people who watched it didn't have or don't have. But let's get into it. Okay, so this movie is, it's not good. I'm going to be honest. It's not a good movie. It's a fun movie, but it's absolute garbage. And I feel like if you're not a fan of the games and you're not a fan of movies that are just like cool action, grim fatalities, all sorts of just gnarly shit, and then like the occasional funny line, don't watch it. It's not worth it. I don't think you're gonna like love it if you're not a fan of that sort of stuff, if you're not a fan of just like insane action. But you know, if you like that, I think you'll like this movie. I think you'll think it's good. Well, let's get into it. Let's start with what I think is the worst part of this movie. The dialogue. The dialogue and the acting in this movie. And I don't want to trash the actors because I don't know if it's the actors who are stiff at times or whether it's just the script is pretty much unworkable. There are some actors who do a great job, but also I would say that their lines of dialogue are better. Specifically, I'm talking about Kano, which is everyone who's talked about this movie, who's discussed this movie, has talked about how good Kano is in the movie. And I love Kano, playing him in the games. He's a scumbag, but he's a funny scumbag. In the movie, he's played by Josh Lawson, I believe. And he's a good actor. He does a good job. He makes the lines funny. They are funny. There's a scene with him where he is at a dinner. I don't want to spoil anything in case people want to watch it. It's relatively new, but there's a point at a dinner where he has a lot of great lines in that. And he's funny. He's a funny part of the movie. He's engaging, and his lines are written well, and he's acted well. So props to Kano. Kano in this movie is great. Everyone else in this movie is really stiff and awkward for most of the movie. It just feels weird. Like there's no chemistry between any of the characters, really. It feels very stiff. It feels like people kind of reciting lines at points. It doesn't work. The dialogue just feels so clunky, and the acting for the dialogue also feels clunky. Other thing I will say about the dialogue, if you don't like the games and if you don't like the lines, like the one-liners from the games, like fatality, flawless victory, your soul is mine, they're in this movie, to be clear. Most of them are not worked in a way that feels natural. It feels like they're saying them to say them. It's weird. I'm going to say that. I like that they had the lines in it, but it's weird. Let's talk about the effects. The effects in this movie are actually pretty solid. For a low-budget movie, the effects are pretty impressive, I would say. I would say that, they're not like Marvel quality, but they're pretty solid special effects. I've seen much worse before. So I'm not going to dock them for that. I think it was actually, they did a great job with the effects. And there are a lot of really cool shots. Whoever the DP is in this movie is great. Give him more work. It looks cool. It's a brilliantly beautiful movie at times. That being said, I would say that there are moments where the effects feel very cheesy, but I couldn't tell whether that was intentional as like a kind of callback to the games or the original movie. I mean, to put into some context for that, like Raiden's lightning looks really fake, which I guess it should, because it is like a fake, I don't know, it just looks really like inserted into this landscape, and it looks kind of weird. That being said, the landscapes are beautiful, the sets are impressive. To give them that credit, there you go. I guess to move forward, the one thing I would also say about this movie is that people have made a big deal about the fact that there's no tournament. Yes, I get that Mortal Kombat is about a tournament, but this movie was clearly setting up a sequel. They had a teaser for Johnny Cage at the end. Johnny Cage is one of the main characters from the video game. So, like, clearly they were planning to have a sequel. And I think they're going to get a sequel. It sold out the box office that weekend. It was great. But, you know, if you're planning for a sequel, you can have the first movie set up the tournament. Then it builds excitement. I think that's actually pretty interesting. Also, the whole point of this one is, it's kind of like MK2, I think. I'm not sure which Mortal Kombat game it is, but in one of them, Shang Tsung basically decides to cheat and attack Earthrealm outside of the tournament. That's what this movie is. So it is kind of based on a game, but it's, you know, sure, they don't have the tournament. They're changing things up, and that's actually good, because I'm tired of seeing the same Mortal Kombat basic story over and over again. Obviously, I'm different from a lot of people, but I've seen the old movie, I've played the games, I've, you know, watched the animated movie, and the same tournament storyline from the beginning just gets tired. It does. It's like when you see the Spider-Man origin or the Batman origin like 80 times, and you're like, I know, I get it. Dead relative spawns you to be responsible. I don't need to see this. And Marvel did a great job of ditching that shit with Spider-Man in the recent Spider-Man movies. I guess Marvel and Sony. But in Mortal Kombat, I think they actually did a solid job. I think it was a smart move of them not to have the tournament in this one. I don't think that the tournament is so played out that they can't have it in the next one, but I think having this movie feel more like there's momentum and that we're seeing different locations, and it's not just, oh, we're in this tournament that's in Shang Tsung's island or what. It just feels much more compelling, I think, to me. That being said, the plot is utter nonsense. They change all of the people's powers into being these things called Arcana, which was a cool explanation of why, you know, a regular person can go toe-to-toe with like a vampire woman with wings, or, you know, some other outworld creature. But it also just felt weird. It just felt like there was a lot of points where they were trying to explain things, and the movie was just kind of going along to explain the next part of the lore. And that comes to my last comment, which is pacing. And I know in my last video I said that pacing doesn't matter. Well, I didn't. I said it's not make or break. But I think in this movie, pacing isn't a make or break thing either, but it is really weird. And it's not that it's slow or that it's fast. It's that it fluctuates between moving slowly and moving quickly. Like, there's so much just weird intermittent scenes where they're explaining things or just hanging out and interacting that feels forced almost. And the fighting scenes are cool, but there's one part towards the middle/end where you're seeing like 4 different fights and they're intercutting between them all, and it's just confusing, and you're like, this is paced really fast, but in a way that makes it impossible to follow what the fuck is going on. So it's just the parts where it's quick paced are not, they're too quick almost, or the way that they're structured is just incomprehensible. And there's parts that are really slow and feel forced. So I'm just gonna, I don't want to like lay into the guy who wrote this, but it's not well written. There's a lot of cool visual stuff, and the people who were in charge of the visuals and the action and the fight choreography, they deserve props. This was a really cool movie to watch. There were a lot of really fun scenes. There was a lot of action that was like super engaging. And there was also even the non-action scenes, the sets were, they had you looking at them. They had you sort of looking at the little details, especially if you're someone who's a fan, trying to figure out what the Easter eggs are. And there were a lot of cool ones too of that. But the plot was just almost incomprehensible if you haven't played the games. I mean, the game's plots in and of themselves are incomprehensible, but it just felt very weird, and it felt just hard to follow at times. Not that like it was hard to follow what was going on, but like why it was going on, I guess. Like there was just transitions between things that felt very odd and sudden and abrupt, and it felt like there were times where they would spend a lot of time on something, kind of get nowhere, and then just switch to something else. It just felt really random and just off at points. And I mean, I guess that's the one sort of major detractor from this movie, is even the cool stuff is kind of subsumed by this just weird, ludicrous plot that just doesn't follow. Again, if you're looking for a movie that's just dumb, mindless, action-y fun, watch Mortal Kombat. It's good. It's definitely worth, for that, just for that, it's fun and it's good. You have to deal with some really bad dialogue and acting. I'm sorry, but if you really want to just watch a cool, fun action movie, Mortal Kombat's worth it, I would say. It's worth a watch. I hope the second one will be better. I hope they'll have a bigger budget maybe. They'll have more time. There'll just be more going on. I also hope that they release some of the deleted fight scenes, because the guy who played Cole Young, who is the original sort of like window into the world new character for people who haven't played the games, his actor said something like his favorite fight scene was cut, which is a little disappointing because the fight scenes, while good, the like fatalities are not phenomenal, and they're not like super creative and insane like in the games, but they're good, and it's still definitely worth watching, and they're still fun. But I just want to see what that missing fight scene was, or any of them. So I hope if they release a Blu-ray or something, it has special features with those scenes, because I think that would be really cool. I think they clearly put a lot of effort into the choreography and the fighting, which is, it's what this movie's about. And so I think that's where they should have concentrated their effort. So I'm proud of them for that. Good job, guys. But yeah, they should have put a little more time, I think, into the script and into I don't want to say the acting, because again, I don't know if it's really the actor's fault. I think to some extent it is, but I think primarily it's that the lines are very wooden and weird at times. But have this guy come back and just write Kano's lines and then have someone else do the rest of the script. I'm fine with that. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. People really want Ryan Reynolds to be Johnny Cage. I'll throw out there that I also want that. I don't know if it's going to happen. He did make a Mint Mobile ad sort of playfully teasing about it, but who knows? I mean, I think they're going to have a sequel. I'm excited to see what the sequel is like. I think if they have more money and more time, this movie could have been phenomenal. As of now, it's fun. It's not great. It's not, spectacular. It doesn't have the campiness of the old movie if you've seen the old movie. But I think it feels more professional visually, and there are some really cool parts to this movie that are just worth watching for fun and just to be like, oh, cool spectacle. But yeah, the dialogue is absolute utter shit. I'm sorry if you were excited about the Mortal Kombat dialogue. The one-liners aren't even that great. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of my Mortal Kombat review. Hopefully I will be doing more stuff in the future. I'm now more free now that my thesis is done, so I'm trying to get back on the grind. Maybe we'll do some more comedy skits soon. I'm trying to get this podcast off the ground, but people seem to not have time because they're graduating soon and need to do work. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I'm sweating my ass off because it's pretty hot right now, and I'm wearing this sweatshirt, this last podcast sweatshirt, just because I thought it would look cool with the hood and the sort of Mortal Kombat-esque mask. And then I did the thing where I jumped over the bed. I did it a couple times because you couldn't see me the first time because I set up the camera wrong. But it was cool. I hope. I think I bruised myself, so that's going to be fun. I do that a lot for these videos. You could say I'm a stuntman myself, so, Mortal Kombat, you want to hire me for your next film to be a stand-in for, I don't know, Motaro. I can be Motaro. No one's gonna know what that means.